Hey guys, what's up? Thanks so much for stopping by. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. My name is Dana and I hope you decide to subscribe. That way we can hang out some more. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about the new Colourpop Stone Cold Fox palette. I believe this is the only second large 30 pan palette that they've released. Before this, we had the Bare Necessities palette, which I actually passed on just because I have a huge collection of Colourpop singles. I felt like I already had a lot of those shades, so I just decided to pass on it. Now I did receive this one as PR, but I actually did have my eyes on it with a reminder set on my phone just because I thought this would be a great palette to kick me out of my rut of just sticking to my safe zone of warm neutrals. So in this palette, you get 30 shades. It's predominantly mattes. You do have some mattes with micro shimmers, for instance, Truffles and Dreamful. And then there was another one. Where are you? Oh, For Granite and Play It Cool. But with these shades, if you go in with like a fluffier brush, you tend to just get rid of the shimmers. They just kind of like disperse into the air. But if you go in with your finger or a flat shader brush and really pack it, that's how you get the punch of those shimmers. Then you do have a few of their really nice ultra shimmery metallic shades. Now in this palette, you don't have any of the pressed glitters. I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy about that. Personally, I would have loved to at least see one because I love those. I'm bad and I put those on my eyes. You're not supposed to, but I do, just because I love them. So there's no pressed glitters in here. Now, if you've never played with Colourpop shadows, I feel like if you watch YouTube videos and you're really into makeup, most of us probably have played with them just because they are a very affordable shadow, great quality. They're super pigmented, blendable. You rarely get fallout from them. What caught my eyes about this palette is typically when you see a cool tone palette, it kind of just does your taupes and your typical smoky eye shades. In here, you have a very nice variety. So as you can see on the outer columns, you have more of like a dusty mauve and dusty lavender. Here you have more of just a neutral brown. And then the two center rows are cool toned taupes and grays. And then over here, I guess would just be like your traditional neutral beige type of tones. So it's not all just like strictly cool tone. I would say cool and neutral tone. I was originally gonna pick up the 9 pan, what was that one called with the snake skin? It was like their last 9 pan palette. I think Totally Taupe. This actually reminds me of Totally Taupe mixed with some of, what was that one called? Magnetic Mauves? Something Mauves. That was another one that I missed out on because I was so glued to my Colourpop Sweet Talk palette. Marvelous Mauves. There we go, Dana. If you've been looking at those and you missed out on them, I think this would be a great one for you. And then of course we have the 15 count brush roll. That one retails for $32, so it comes out to $2 and some change. I have played with plenty of Colourpop's face brushes. I really do like them. I don't think I've used too many of their eye brushes, but you will see me demoing them throughout this video. I didn't have any problems with those either. I think the value that you get for the brush is great. I will say though, the brush roll smells. If you've ever ordered like a brush roll from China off of Amazon, how it has that weird paint, like hardware store type of smell, you get that in that brush roll. So I would recommend just getting rid of that because the smell just starts to linger. I can't stand that smell. I hate it. So I just went ahead and pulled all my brushes out and placed them in the cup. The brushes have zero smell, and I think the color scheme of the brush is super pretty, but the brush roll smells. So there is a quick rundown of the products. Let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So before we go in with eyeshadows, I do want to quickly prime my eyes. Face primer is something that I never skip, but eye primer I kind of go back and forth with. Sometimes I'll just go in with like a concealer to clean up my, or just kind of mute out any weird discoloration on my lid. Sometimes I go in with an eye primer. Recently, I've been testing out this one. I got this in my Glossy Box Advent Calendar this year. If you guys are interested in seeing the other products that I got, I'll go ahead and link the video up above. But this is from the brand Beauty Crop, and it's just called the Stuck On You Eye Primer. I've really been liking it so far. The consistency kind of just reminds me of a MAC paint pot. For my brow bone, I'm going to take a mixture of both Luxe and Trip, only because when I swatched this earlier, I was really surprised with how much pigmentation this had. I have always loved Colourpop shadows, but they've kind of taken place in like the back of my drawer lately just because I went through a phase where that's all I was using. So I just wanted to go in and kind of rotate in some of my other shadows, and I almost forgot how pigmented their lighter shadows are. I'm gonna go in with the E22 brush. I don't think I've really played with too many of the Colourpop eye brushes. I do have lots of their face brushes that I love. Stranger looks like more of a kind of like taupey gray. I do want to try to keep this more on the cooler side. So let's just buff some of that into the crease. We're going to go into Quarry Days and now taking the E23. This is a brush that I think I do have. It kind of reminds me of the MAC 217 just with slightly longer bristles. It's great for hooded lids. Ooh, this one really looks pigmented. Okay, so I'm going to take this and just concentrate this more on the outer half of the crease, just to deepen it up a bit. I'd have my husband Keegan come in here. I was like, this is the word quarry, right? Like, I know what it means, but it's a word I never really say. I was like, am I saying this right? Quarry? Just sounded weird. Okay, so just a little bit of that. And then on top of that, actually, let's go ahead and pull it up a little bit more. Taking that same E22, right? Yeah, E22 brush and buffing it into Stranger. And then I do want to darken it up even more. This is the E27. It's more of like a dome-shaped pencil brush. And going in with Fickle Fate, I'm just gonna place some of this down and then begin pulling it inward. I never do cool tone looks, and whenever I do this, I always feel like I'm like way back in the day going in with the original Urban Decay Naked palette, using all the shades on the right half. Wasn't it like Dark Horse? What was the black shade called? I can't think. I used to love silver and blacks, and I never do those looks anymore. Just continuing with the E22, I'm taking a little bit of Fickle Fate at a time and just lightly blending it upwards. It's really pigmented, so you only need a tiny bit. Now, just out of habit, I always go in with my eyes first just in case there is any fallout, but I've experienced zero fallout so far. Sometimes with deeper toned matte shades, that's whenever I really notice fallout, but nothing. I haven't gone in with a wipe or anything, and so far, so good. This is the E26. So just picking up a little bit of caving in, and then let's go right here and kind of fade it into Fickle Fate. Is that what it's called? I feel like I've said it a million times now where it's just starting to sound weird. Whenever going in with a metallic shade, I always like to just use my finger. I wanted to try the brush just to see. It's good, but I'm just so used to always using my finger. Let's see what I Dig It looks like. This is a really pretty, almost like champagne silver, but then Magnetic Moon is a straight up silver. This one almost reminds me of the Super Shock Shadow in Liberty. I'm thinking maybe let's mix the two just because this one's more neutral. This is definitely cool. So if we mix that, we'll get the perfect shade. Ooh, this brush is actually perfect for creams. Okay, so just taking a little bit more of the Stuck On You primer. And then first let's dip into Magnetic Moon, and then just to slightly tone it down, I'm gonna go into I Dig It. And we will just pack the inner corner and just fade it into Caving In. And then going in with the E25 brush, I just stamped in a tiny bit of Rock Bottom, the matte black, and I'm gonna keep this lower down onto the lash line and just lightly blend it upwards. And then taking the E30 brush with a little bit more of Rock Bottom, I am just going to create a little tiny baby wing. Do you guys hear that? Layden and Keegan are out there just saying butt turd instead of butter. As you can see, I did go ahead and apply the rest of my face with the exception to my lips. If you guys are curious about some of these complexion products, I talked all about them in my October favorites, which should be coming up tomorrow. So now I just want to add a little bit of something to my lower lash line. I don't want to go too smoky. I was going to go into Stranger, but that's really light. So I think we'll do Quarry Days instead and just lightly buff some of that just onto the lower lash line. So here is my final look using the new Stone Cold Fox palette. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. It's still weird for me wearing cooler tone shadows. I just never gravitate towards like icy silver colors, so it just takes getting used to. Maybe I shouldn't have worn black today because then it's just like feeding me more Jersey Shore vibes. But when we're talking just about the overall formula and pigmentation, I'm really impressed. I really can't wait to dive into these outer columns, especially the shade Nice Sky. That's just right up my alley. It's a beautiful like rosy tone with just this really unique shift to it. They look stunning. All of the mattes that I used today were excellent. None of them had any crazy fallout. I would say the grittiest shadow that I used was Caving In, but even that one wasn't dry or crumbly. It just had more of an overall texture to it rather than something like super smooth and creamy like Magnetic Moon or I Dig It, but everything applied great, whether I was using a brush or a finger. If you are looking to expand your collection of cool tone shadows, not only cool tone, but neutral tones too, I think this would be a great palette. You get 30 shades for $34. I know Colourpop does offer sales here and there. Unfortunately, I didn't get this video up before they had the 25% off sale, which is a bummer. But I do think if you subscribe to their emails, you either get 10 or 15% off. So overall, I do recommend it. I think this will kind of pushed me into trying out more cool tone shades, just because when it comes to even my single shadows, I have decluttered a ton of my cool tone colors. So with them all being in this color combination, I think I will start to use them a little bit more. There you have it. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Stone Cold Fox palette down below. Have you purchased it? Do you plan on purchasing it? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If you haven't already and you liked what you saw today, I would love if you subscribe. That way we can hang out some more in the future. And that's about it. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.